It's Thursday the 20th of June 2024. It is about just after 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm at White Horse Hill. Near Uffington in the Vale, and I'm off to see the sunrise on Dragon Hill. First of all, it's a hill and it can get windy. The other thing, if you're up here at 4 o'clock in the morning, there's no sun, and so it's chilly. So from bitter experience, I'm wearing my Derby boot clogs, I'm wearing full length trousers, I'm wearing a fleece, I'm wearing a coat, and I've also got a hat in my bag, because I know how chilly this place can be. Currently, there's nobody about. That usually changes as we get towards sunrise. People just emerge from the woodwork. So I can see at the moment, looking east, looking northeast, is a red mackerel coloured sky. So it's the dawn, sort of twilight time before the sun rises, and it's sort of quite eerie, quite a liminal time. Shadows are quite long. In fact, not quite, but nearly. The hills, the signs, the hedges, certainly when you're looking east, are in silhouette. They graze sheep round here, the National Trust does, to keep the whole area grassed as opposed to treed. So you have to navigate these cattle grids to stop the sheep escaping. Okay, I can see someone in the disabled car park. So perhaps one of the first people to arrive to celebrate the summer solstice. No, I'm doing sound recording, field recording.
Oh.
No cameras, sorry.
Well, we'll try and be quiet then. We're not ruining it for the birds.
No. Well, some of the, but I'm doing a podcast, so what I'm going to be doing is going up Dragon Hill, hopefully. So some of the sort of pagan people will be there. Hopefully the guy with the horn. Hopefully he'll be there. And any drums, please join in. And
we'll just howl.
Yeah, howl. That's good.
We love it.
But yeah, I mean, what I'm hoping also, sometimes this time I might have to loiter a bit. But some of the birds sort of skylarks.
It's stunning. We normally sit up there and just see out there tweetering.
This is our umpteenth time. We do this every year. But we're going to We're going to Portugal tomorrow, so we've got an early one tomorrow.
Early flight. So we're going to be
in the morning.
Well, at least you'll get some nice weather.
Well, it's going to be nice here, isn't it? Typical.
Lovely. Well, enjoy. You'll see me on Dragon Hill.
Okay.
Bye. So the way the clouds are arranged at the moment, it's that they all seem to be going to this very precise vanishing point. Probably the point on the horizon where the sun's going to emerge. It's quite freaky because it's kind of got a long tail from east and west. I think we're going to see the sun today. There's not much cloud. It's just this streaky mackerel fine cloudscape we've got at the moment. I'm just following the road which skirts underneath the White Horse and goes round and skirts round Dragon Hill. So I'm more or less underneath the White Horse, which is a carving on the side of the hill which exposes the white chalk, although I must admit the White Horse isn't looking so white at the moment. I think they've put so many do not walk on the White Horse that it's kind of overgrown a little bit with weeds and whatever. Well, more of a green horse now, so so much for the conservation of it. So I'm right underneath now. I mean, this is quite a steep, a very, very steep embankment between me and the White Horse, and to the other side of me, to the left of me, there's an even steeper embankment and sort of valley area which is called the Manger, and it's a sort of escarpment which has got quite a funny shape. It sort of encloses the valley at the bottom on three sides, and certainly on the west side, there's these sort of ridges down the embankment, almost as if it's ribs of the dragon, and then it goes in a curved shape, and perhaps the head of the dragon or the eye of the dragon is the sort of mound, or if this was a Motte and Bailey castle, it would be the sort of motte mounds, which I'm sure if you got a drone out or a helicopter, that the Dragon Hill would be the eye of the dragon, and the escarpment, the curved escarpment, and the ridges which look like ribs would sort of give the appearance of a dragon lying on its side, sort of in a sort of fetal position. Now, people say the White Horse carving is a white horse. It's very stylistic, so you could interpret it what you want. Some people say, well, perhaps it's a dragon. I think Thomas Sheridan even suggested it was a cat. I think it falls into the category that no one really knows. It's funny. Perhaps this is a thing that only happens in England. But anyway, you're walking along the road, and it's a case of guess what type of poo it is. I think it's probably horse. 1, 2, 3, 4. They didn't bring any bags to pick it up with. Although my granddad, who lived in London, sort of said when I mean this was when he was a lad, probably in the early 20th century, that if horses did a poo, people would collect it for their garden. Good source of manure. He also suggested if you plant a tree, bury a dead cat underneath it. Don't know how easy dead cats would come by. On that subject, for Father's Day, I did get a dead cat. Now, I know what you're thinking, but you're wrong. A dead cat in the world of sound recording is the very hairy wind screen that you put on your mic, which I've got now, because sometimes it can be a bit blustery up here. Okay, I'm approaching Dragon Hill, and there's a set of steps carved into the side. It's sort of a very handmade sort of arrangement. It's sort of metal rope pins and ropes, and it looks like steps which are held into place by planks of wood and compacted soil. I think Maria Wheatley, who's a master dowser, on one of her programmes sort of said that in Dragon Hill near Uffington there's a convergence of two energy lines. So maybe this is quite an auspicious place to go and see the sun rising. And there we go, what a view. You could just imagine in ancient times them doing a ceremony here. It's such a fabulous view. To the north, which I'm facing, you can certainly see to the other ridge on the other side of the vale, and we're sort of looking towards Oxford, but the whole vale, the Vale of the White Horse, is all spread out in front of me, and what I can sort of see now, turning sort of northwest to where the sun hopefully will rise. It looks like there's been some flooding. It looks like there's a lake where there shouldn't be a lake, which is a bit odd. To the east, some trees. To the north, to the south is the White Horse. I'm facing, looking at the White Horse, tinged with green perhaps now. Behind the White Horse is the Lambourne Downs and the Berkshire Downs, and I can see someone walking along the road which passes underneath the White Horse. And then to the west, the ribs of the dragons of the dragon of this escarpment. And if I carry on sort of northwest, I see 5 turning wind turbines. Yeah, okay, let's set up. There's certainly people now at the top of the hill, adjacent to the White Horse, looking down. They can spot me. If you look carefully on the ground here, I don't know what flowers these are, but you've got these beautiful little purple things and beautiful little... I mean, this is no ordinary lawn or anything like that. This is quite beautiful, looking at the ground. We're going to have a good sunrise.
Hello. Hang on, I'm a bit deaf.
That's fine.
So what did you say?
I said we're going to have a good sunrise.
Yes. Yes, it generally is. You come here every year?
Yeah, I try to.
Yeah.
Well, if the weather's dire,
Yeah.
I don't bother.
No. But...
Oh, well, that is commitment. So it's quite for some people, it's quite a spiritual journey just coming. I mean, maybe people don't recognise it. So I was speaking to someone about 3 weeks ago, and she sort of came here and she didn't really know what to expect here, and I sort of said, "Oh, you're going to visit Wayland Smithy? What's that?" And I sort of explained about the White Horse, and then she said, "Well, I've just come from Avebury, or Avebury, and then prior to that, I'd come from Glastonbury." And it's almost as if she was on this spiritual journey to these ancient sites, but she, in her mind, she didn't really realise this. She was obviously looking for something, But I mean, are you sort of a sort of earth religion, or are you? Or
Christian.
Oh, okay, Christian. Okay.
Christian. I'm not pagan. I'm Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ. But I'm drawn to places like this. I was born, as I said, very near here, and of course I know Wayland Smithy, and Avebury was I used to cycle to. I went to Avebury a couple of weeks ago, and in a couple of weeks' time I'm going up to. I'm going to drive up to Orkney to see Scarborough and the Nessa Brodgar and the sites there. So yeah, I'm very interested in the history and the mystery of it, but it's not part of my religion.
Okay.
But there are a number of people. I've met a lot of people on the Ridgeway, sort of doing a spiritual journey thing, and I have a number of friends who are pagans. There's a pagan rock band that I met when I was comparing gigs in. I live in Reading. Where do you live?
I live Wantage, not very far away. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And I met them when I was comparing some gigs, and I used to compare their gigs for them, and they used to like me because I was a token Christian. So there's a lot of, and they'll be at Stonehenge. I've never been to Stonehenge for the solstice because it's too many people.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You can't get anywhere near Avebury either anymore.
Oh, really?
It's very carefully policed. I mean, you can, but again, it's very controlled. You know.
The car park at Avebury seems to be limited. It's not big enough. Just not big enough.
Well, it's not big enough for a solstice. It's big enough for the punters at the weekend in the summer, but not for the huge numbers of people that go there. But I do go to Avebury for the winter solstice in December, and and meet up with my pagan friends there. And of course, there's very much less people there. Then there's normally about 300. You know, I don't take part in their little ceremony. I did actually once, but yeah, that's a good time to go to Avebury. Is the winter solstice. Oh yeah. You meet a lot of people there then. Yeah.
It's getting the weather, isn't it? Because this is great today.
Yeah.
See the sun. It's beautiful. There's not too much breeze. But once you get to the winter months, it can be a bit hellish.
Yeah. So I wouldn't come here for the winter solstice. Avebury's quite sheltered, where it's flat and there's the earth, the boundary,
Yeah.
It's cold. It was actually last year. It wasn't that cold. It was quite mild, and the previous years have been quite mild. I came here 2 years ago, as I normally do, but then last year the weather it didn't look like it was going to be a good one, so I went to Caliva, the Roman city, just outside Reading, about 9 miles to the south. It's called Silchester, the village now, but it was the 5th largest Roman city in England.
Oh wow.
and it's huge, and the city wall's still there. And I went onto the city wall there, and the clouds were very low, but the sun did peep out.
Wow.
For a bit, so I did see it, but I wasn't going to drive all the way here in the hope, to take the chance of not actually seeing it. It's very quiet up there, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, quite on. I mean, maybe because it's a Thursday. I think people have got wrong-footed because people, as a rule of thumb, think, okay, the 21st June solstice, and likewise the winter solstice.
Yeah.
And maybe they've got wrong-footed because there's a leap year this year.
It's the 20th.
And
yeah.
We'll probably have lots of people turning up tomorrow. I won't be here tomorrow.
No, I won't be here tomorrow. No. It's not far for you from Wantage.
No, it's easy, very easy.
Because I drove through Wantage. It's about an hour for me from here.
Uh-huh.
And I'm retired now, so
Oh, that's good.
I don't. I couldn't. No, but I was able to get out. I actually fell asleep again, but I did wake up with just enough time to jump in the car.
Yeah, it's about an hour from Reading, isn't it, or thereabouts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you go Didcot, Wantage, and through.
I kind of have this sort of I've kind of reached 50 this year,
Right.
and I have this sort of compulsion now to start recording things. I'm a sort of contemporary historian.
Yes.
I'm sort of almost doing time preservation.
Yeah.
Just really want to record how it is now. Certainly the sound elements of
Yeah.
it, and sort of people's thoughts and ideas, because historically you don't really get ordinary people's thoughts and ideas and perspectives on things. You might get big politicians, and
Yeah.
so that's time preservation. I'm doing
That's a good way of
soundscape.
putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read history at university
Oh, okay.
many years ago, and it's always I must make out that time preservation. That's a very good way of putting it. And I still love it. But you're right. It is, great dates, great people. Well, it was when I went to university, and and there's so many ways in which you can record things now.
Mm.
When I was at university, you just read books.
So what I'm hoping to do, I've got one or two people. I mean, this is the trouble. Some of the people I'm going to approach are now in their 70s and 80s. And there's one guy I want to approach who's built or remanufactured an octagonal hive, the Stewarton hive. So
a beehive.
Yeah. So
Right.
this was a 19th century design, and in his past he remanufactured it. So I would like to interview him.
Yeah.
Because I mean this sounds perhaps a little bit morbid and perhaps a little bit unfair, but I've been to freaking funerals, and then people do the eulogy, and you think, no, that's not right, and you've missed out children and so.
Yeah.
I know he did more than that in his life, and I sort of think, damn, has anyone written that down?
Mm.
I mean, it's funny. People in perhaps the last 10 years of their life people don't write their own eulogy, do they?
No.
Or they don't tend to write their own memoirs and whatnot. And there's, I don't know, that some people have important information which ought to be passed on, an important life story which ought to be passed on.
Yes.
And they're not doing that. I mean, so I'm just hoping with my podcast I can interview interesting people.
Yes.
Who have some really interesting insights,
Yeah.
because the amount of change which has happened certainly in the 20th century
Yes.
is amazing in terms of the technological developments.
Yeah.
And because I know someone in the village who I came from in Beedon,
Yeah.
who still remembers the day times where they to get water they had to go to a well.
Yes.
You know, and this was 1950s and they didn't have electricity.
Yeah.
So that time, that's almost like the shadow or the Terminator is drawing upon these people, and they'll be gone.
Yes.
So trying to capture that.
Yes. I'm writing a lot of things now because I'm 64 soon, and I'm writing a lot of things now to record things before I go. And I spent 31 years. I didn't do anything with my history. I spent 31 years treating cancer patients.
Oh, crikey.
Radiotherapy, and saw a lot of people at, at not good places in their lives, and sometimes the end of their lives. And bright now, isn't it? And I now work on the ward at a hospice as a volunteer, and so it's important people do tell their story, do get what they want to say down before it's. I see so many people in rooms with family and nobody's talking, and you think, well, now's the time to say what you've got to say.
Yeah,
so I think it's a very laudable thing you're doing.
Thank you.
Right. Can't see a damn thing with these. And I think a carer is a very good job. Don't be right being a carer. If I had to go back to work, I'd train to be a carer or healthcare assistant. God's getting bright now.
The problem with that type of profession is the way the government have done it. They want to do it for the cheapest possible
everything's
price,
cheap. Yeah.
And they're now getting people from Africa, which perhaps they're exploiting a bit because they're happy to work for dead pittance. But it's the sort of economy we live in the sense that to say buy a house here or start a family or anything of that nature is just so expensive, and then when you're having to compete with people who could send money back home, and it'd be quite a nice amount of money for someone in Africa.
Yeah.
You kind of think, I just can't compete. It's almost as if we're being replaced. But anyway.
Well, I'm not going to get into that because everybody's got to make ends meet, and we once upon a time went and walked into their country and took it off them. So
Okay.
And they didn't get a say about it. So if we're getting a bit of payback, that's we shouldn't have gone there in the first place.
How would that work? Because naturally, I was born in the 1970s, so the British Empire was gone. I mean, do I personally, should I be thinking, well, I bear some responsibility myself, even though I had no part?
No, you don't bear any personal responsibility, but your nation does.
Okay.
No, you don't, because you were born in the same. I don't, because I was born in 1960, personally. But my attitude is, when people say things, is, well, you think of the Indian Mutiny in 1856, and you think of the Zulu Wars, and you think of the Mau Mau Rebellion and the way they were bloodily put down. There was no mercy shown by us to the people whose land we took. So it's the European-wide legacy of the colonialisation of the world is that people don't forget or don't know or are aware of the history that goes behind it. And I think to use a sort of karma term, what goes around comes around, and the NHS couldn't survive without people from abroad working in the NHS, because we're not training enough doctors and nurses, and people aren't prepared to do the jobs.
Are they not prepared to do the jobs at a certain price, though?
Well, that's because they're not. The jobs aren't priced up correctly. You think the most important jobs in society was caring for others, but they get paid the least. That's what I think.
Yeah. I mean, I was reading Bullshit Jobs by David Graeber.
Yeah.
And you sort of mentioned the point that you're making in terms of the value we attribute to people in terms of their salaries is not always correct. So I think also if people, we almost sort of think, well, if people derive a sense of job satisfaction from their jobs, like say being in the caring profession, they're, at a subconscious level we think, well, maybe we shouldn't pay them as much as someone who's in a really high pressure shitty job, And you get these sort of anomalies where people who sort of are at the casino in the City of London get paid stupid amounts, whereas someone actually who has to mow their lawn or care for their house or has to mend their roof or unblock their toilet doesn't get. So
people who unblock their toilets get paid enormous amounts of money.
Plumbers, in London,
Plumbers.
Well, maybe that's a bad example.
And that's because it's a profession that everybody needs, and when you need them, and they can charge what they wish,
Because I would imagine though, say for instance it's your mum or your dad or whoever who's ill, terminally ill perhaps, and someone's got to look after them. You have a bond, someone's got to look after them. It's great, isn't it, that we can sort of vicariously move that to some third party, whether it's someone from Africa or some poor
Well, it's not always somebody from Africa. In the hospice where I work, they're not all African.
But the people who are getting the benefit of or almost relieving their guilt, because some people won't care for their family members. That derives a sort of a value to them and society that some other person is kind of doing the dirty work, so to speak, or the long hours or the anguish or the
Yes. Yeah.
So yonder, I think that's flooding, isn't it?
No, it's mist.
Is it mist? Okay.
It's a mist rising. You can't, because you can see it over here to an extent. That's because the sun we're seeing it through the sun. If the sun was, you can see it everywhere. And those Swindon is over there.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
So what is missing in the landscape now is Didcot Power Station.
Oh, is it gone?
Yeah. They've done well. They've done the towers. Towers. I mean, back in the day, the worst place to see Didcot Power Station was in Didcot.
Yes.
Because the houses, but certainly Oxford. If you go to certainly John Radcliffe Hospital, if you go up, back in the day, if you went up to the 6th floor, you see Didcot Power Station from there, and lots of places. I think we could see it from the Downs, West Ilsley,
I could
Beedon.
See it from driving out of Reading. Yes, I've forgotten it. I forgot of it. It went a while ago, didn't it?
Yeah.
I saw it on the television being demolished.
I think the architect designed it so you could only see four the towers, for the cooling towers at any one time.
Right, I'm going to take a walk around.
Okay.
Take some more pictures. Nice to meet you.
And
Steve.
you too.
I'll look out on your site.
Yeah, please do.
All right.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks for that.
All right, God bless.
And you too.
You're listening to the Beehive Yourself show.
I would like to read a passage about White Horse Hill from Roger Hyam's book, Berkshire and the Vale of the White Horse. A short way further along the ridgeway approaches the twinned phenomena of a great hill fort carved out of the highest point of the downs, and the strange creature sprawled out in white chalk on the green north-facing slope on the eastern shoulder of the hill. A great deal has been written about the horse to explain it, but since there is so little that can constitute empirical proof, most of it must necessarily be hypothesis. Like any place, it is easier to get down from the White Horse than it is to get up to it. A lane runs steeply down to the Icknield Way, and from it can be seen not only the horse, although from close at hand its head is invisible, but the deep chasm before it called the Manger, and a little conical hill slightly to its east called Dragon Hill. The legend of St. George and the dragon got mixed up with the horse at some point to add to the confusion. It was sometimes held to be St. George's horse, sometimes the dragon. Like the holly, ivy and mistletoe and the Easter egg, pagan rites often got mixed up with Christian practices, and St. George seems to have been identified with the earlier pagan horse god, like the Wayland of the Saxons. What is known without dispute is what can be seen, that the figure is cut from the turf to expose the chalk, which shows in white contrast and can be seen from afar, that in its greatest length it measures 365 feet. It faces to the right. It has 2 legs connected with the body and 2 detached, and they look as if they always have been. That it does not even look much like a horse. It is, as before suggested, a surrealist impression of a horse, a work of art, which places it apart from any of the other chalk horses. I would like to thank those who've reached out with encouragement for this podcast. You can contact me directly by email, podcast@behaveyourself.co.uk. Also, a big thank you to Mikhail for generously sharing his thoughts with me. You can follow me and support my work by visiting behaveyourself.co.uk or visit my Substack. My handle is @behaveyourselfshow. The music is by Solitude by Entertainment for the Brain Dead, which was created under a Creative Commons license. And so this concludes this instalment of the Behave Yourself show. And until next time, stay well.